Jinpachi wants to create the best striker the world has ever seen. He believes that to be the best, one must have the biggest ego. Today, I'll prove how true this philosophy is and show the best way to use ego to win. There's a big controversy going around on the internet about whether ego is good or bad. While hyper-masculine gurus will tell you that ego is essential for success, the wisest people in history argue that you should detach yourself from ego and remember your small existence in the universe. In Bluelock, ego is often portrayed as something cool and necessary for someone who wants to be the best striker in the world, but there are different sides to it. Let's look at some examples. A 90-year-old approaches you, offering life advice. Your ego kicks in, and you respond, "Get lost, old fart, you're not a millionaire. I know more than you." Here, instead of being open-minded to a new perspective on life, your ego shuts you down. In another example, there's a guy with no ego. He's nice to everyone and thinks everyone is probably better than him. He lacks a sense of competition, is timid, and is always nervous when showcasing his skills, which lowers his performance. Ego isn't about arrogance, it's about confidence. There's a fine line, so don't mix the two. Jinpachi wants to create the best striker, and a striker's job requires ego. The moment he second-guesses himself on the field, he's done. However, a midfielder's role is different. Their goal is to help the striker score, so they likely need to balance their ego. The key is knowing when to use ego and when it benefits you, so it works for you rather than against you. Saying ego is either good or bad is a narrow-minded way of looking at the world. In the upcoming chapters, we'll discuss how to use ego effectively to win. Why is Bluelock so motivating and intense that you get goosebumps watching it every 2 minutes? I've discovered the element that sets Bluelock apart from all the other anime out there. This is the very element that drives the players in Bluelock to grow and become the best versions of themselves. It's what makes their journey so intense, and it's also why watching this anime is so motivating. Adding this element to your real life will make pursuing your goals even more motivating and intense. The element is their hardcore competition. Competition is the biggest motivator for improving quickly. It pushes you to your limits and unlocks potential that would otherwise go to waste without a force driving you forward. Now, you're probably not in a facility like Bluelock, surrounded by your rivals, and there probably isn't someone like Jinpachi hyping you up and motivating you. So, here are actions you can take to get motivation from competition. Studies show that people who are motivated are 70% to 90% more likely to complete their tasks than those who aren't. 1. Create your imaginary rival. I've talked about this in a previous Bluelock video, and I'll include a mini course in the description on how to create a rival to motivate you. It's essentially a second self that embodies everything you don't do but should. Second, research top performers. Whenever I want to improve a skill, I gather all the details about the top performers in that area, such as their achievements and accomplishments, and add them to my Notion template. This creates a sense of competition, as if you're surrounded by rivals. And hey, before we move on to the next chapter on how to win 70% more, if you like the content I create, you can join my newsletter where I send weekly emails on how to improve your stats and character. There's one distinct quality that the top rankers in Bluelock possess that, according to science, can increase their chances of winning by 60% to 75%. It's their unshakable confidence. I mean, just look at this guy. After being placed in the top 6, he asks what's stopping them from putting him at number 1. Confident people win more often than nervous people because they have greater focus, more persistence, and most importantly, the ability to perform under pressure. Here are some actions you can take to become more confident. Your confidence depends on what you attach your value or worth to. If your worth is attached to your beauty, you'll lose confidence in front of someone more attractive than you. If your worth is attached to your money, you'll lose confidence in front of someone who earns more than you. That's not a stable way to live. Instead, derive your confidence from something within your control, like your skills. Here's a systematic way to gain confidence. Confidence is essentially how likely it is that what you say will happen actually happens. When you strip away the emotions, it's simply predicting the future. For example, if I'm confident that I'll score 3 times in a game, that's a prediction. You build confidence or belief in that prediction based on past evidence. If you've scored 3 goals multiple times before, you'll feel confident about doing it again. But if you haven't, you have no proof that it will happen, so you'll feel less confident. A systematic way to gain confidence is to build evidence by doing it first. Although it isn't said by the most successful person on earth, this Bluelock quote can offer a new perspective to live by. It's not actually about what the right answer is. What matters is having the resolve to turn your decision into the right answer. Bluelock is an anime filled with characters who have painful pasts, and those brimming with inspiration. Everyone has their big why, their crucial reason to become number 1. And while watching, you almost want everyone to win. But in the end, the winner is determined by who has the most resolve to keep pushing forward no matter what. In Bluelock, the outcome is set. Only one player makes it through the gate, and everyone else has to accept their fate. But saying goodbye to Bluelock doesn't mean they have truly lost. The truth is, you can't control everything that happens to you in life, but you can control how you respond to it. No one's fate is determined by how many times they've lost. It's defined by the resolve and determination to make your dream come true. You can't possibly lose if you don't quit, no matter how many times you've faced defeat. Quitting is the only certain way not to win. Mediocre friends will make you mediocre, while the best friends bring out the best in you. While watching Bluelock and seeing Isagi constantly changing teams and making new friends instantly, a thought suddenly popped into mind. Don't settle for mediocrity. There's an abundance of high-quality friends out there. You just need to access them and choose the best ones who will bring out the best in you. Almost 90% of you here, like me, have mediocre friends. I can say that confidently because there's a certain state you need to step into to access high-quality friends. I'll tell you how to access that state. First, mediocre friends are the worst distractions from your goals. They are not even your true friends. You just call them friends because they happen to live nearby. Imagine if someone is standing there, blocking you from reaching your big goal. Are they a friend or an enemy? Well, that's your current friend. You need to be ruthless with them. When you become that person in the future and they stay the same, you'll eventually have to cut ties. So, you might as well do it now to save time. So, how do you access high-quality friends easily? To make high-quality friends, you need to become one of them. You need to improve so much that those high-quality people seek out your friendship. You're not there yet. No matter how tough it is to accept, you need to stay alone at this stage and keep getting better until you're accepted into the epic group. Jinpachi is constantly using tricks to motivate the players inside Bluelock to give their best, because he knows that players who are motivated perform better than those who aren't. One of his most effective techniques for motivating players is engaging their emotions in the process to push them even harder. For example, in episode 5, Jinpachi intentionally states that Rin's brother chose Ryusei Shido over him, and what was the result? Rin trains even harder to crush the under-20 team. In the under-20 selection match, he used the same trick. He went to players who weren't in the top 6 and urged them to use the top 6 as stepping stone to stand out. Then he went to the top 6 and told them that they were the pinnacle of Bluelock and that they must do whatever it takes to prevent their spotlight from being stolen by the bottom players. This cycle repeats throughout the anime. When your emotions are engaged, you ditch excuses and become more focused on achieving your goals. Since you don't have Jinpachi to hype you up, what actions can you take to evoke your emotions during the process? In one of his books, Robert Greene proposes an idea called putting yourself in the death ground. He suggests putting yourself in a position where you either complete the task or face a dire consequence, with no other options. When your back is against the wall, you either fight or die. When there are no other options, the task will get done, no matter what.